Hello and welcome together. Today marks the day of the release of our new config version, Config App 15.1. With me is our applications lead, Lukas Aiglesberger. Hello, Lukas.
Hello.
Thanks for having you here, because we need to talk about climate and especially AC units. In Middle Europe, we are not that used to, where Loxone is located with our campus, we are not that used to have AC units, but they are getting more and more and more within the last years. And in the summer destination countries like Spain, Italy, Portugal, the Middle East, where they used to have AC units over the last 20, 30, 40 years, they also need intelligent automation from these devices. So that was the reason why we invented the Loxone AC Control Air last year. We gained 1 year of experience in having them, and now we took the 15.1 of the Loxone Config App to improve the software behind the AC control. Lukas, let's jump right in. What was the first change we made within the AC controller?
The biggest change is that we integrated the AC control into the intelligent room controller. So now it's not just a control for my AC, it's really controlling the climate in my room. If we look into Loxone Config, we can see here an AC and an intelligent room controller. First thing you're going to notice is the new name.
Yeah. Before it was called the AC controller.
Yeah.
Now we renamed the function block, not the device. We renamed the function block to AC unit controller in this case.
Exactly. Now it's easier understandable what it actually does. So the AC control Air still has the same name, but the function block was renamed.
Yeah.
The first thing you're also going to notice is here silent mode input. What does this mean? For example, if at night you have a night operating mode, you connect it to the new input and the AC turns down to a lower fan speed. For example,
Okay.
you don't get disturbed at night, you don't wake up, and when the night ends, you deactivate it again and the fan speed goes back to normal.
Okay.
So how does the integration into the intelligent room controller look? It's very easy. You just drag and then it asks me, okay, do I want to create the AC central controller?
This is the next new thing.
The new function block, it actually describes the auto unit of an AC. So if you have an AC, you have maybe a single split or multi-split. A single split, you only have one Indo unit per auto unit. Multi-split, you have several Indo units per auto unit.
Yeah.
And we need this function block because, for example, on a multi-split system, the Indo units all can only cool or heat. They can't do both. So the auto unit decides, and therefore we need a function block.
So it's similar to the climate controller we already had. This is one thing we will talk about in a few minutes, because it also has a new name. And this is it's a similar thing just for the AC units.
Exactly. It decides if we are heating or cooling.
Yeah.
Depending on the demand of the separate rooms and depending on the auto temperature.
Okay.
After inserting the function block, I have to set the mode. Do I only want to heat or only to cool or do both? So I want to do both. And here we already talked about auto temperature. Here we have a mode for the auto temperature.
Oh, okay, this is nice.
So this is new for all climate central blocks. So the old climate controller also has gotten this function, and also the HVAC controller. Here I can decide, do I want to use the current temperature, the current auto temperature, the average of the past 48 hours, or the average of the future 48 hours. So if I have a weather service active, I can use the future 48 hours to decide, do I want to heat or to cool?
Okay. In the past, we just had the look back to the last 24 hours and the average temperature, and especially in countries where you can't say, okay, the next 5 or 4 or 2 days it will be hot, so maybe it's cloudy, maybe it's raining, maybe it's sunny, and it's all in change. So you can say, okay, with the weather service, we want to look into the next 48 hours with the intelligent forecast to use it. And one thing we might miss because we were talking is the magic that happens if we connect the AC unit controller via the API connector, because everything is done by itself.
Yeah. So we can see here, okay, the AC unit controller is now connected to the AC central controller but also to the intelligent room controller, and also the central controller is connected to the intelligent room controller. So they all work together to get the perfect climate.
Okay.
So if we now jump into the app, we can see here my intelligent room controller, and down here I can see the connected AC unit controller. So if I jump here, I can see the visualization of the AC unit controller. It's now fully controlled by the intelligent room controller. I can start the timer to turn it off, for example, for a few hours. But mainly the target temperature and also the mode comes from the intelligent room controller. I also can decide manually what fan speed I would like, but the intelligent room controller gives me the target temperature. So, for example, now I have a target temperature of 23 degrees because it's my cooling comfort temperature. We created a way that the AC control does not too often turn on or off. So if I'm in comfort mode, it only turns on as soon as I exceed my comfort temperature, because before that it's not necessary, and then it turns off when the comfort time ends. We did this because we don't want to disturb the homeowner from turning on and off the AC unit, and therefore we minimize the amount of turn on and turn offs.
Okay.
In echo mode, we activate the AC as soon as the echo temperature gets exceeded, and deactivate it again after a certain hysteresis is reached. You can set this parameter here.
Yeah.
So if the echo temperature is 27 degrees, it will turn off again when 26.5 degrees reached. Here we also have a target offset because we give the AC a little bit a lower target temperature so that the temperature really is reached, and yeah, you have the perfect temperature in your room.
And this is one thing we have to talk about, guys, because we now did this in 2.5 minutes. In 2 minutes, it's just one click. And if you then look at the AC Control Air, we have a video on our YouTube channel as well, how to integrate this one into the home and building automation, how to connect it to your AC unit, and it's all set up in less than 3 minutes, including the installation of this device. So installation and configuration in the Loxone config, that we have it in the app and that it's intelligently controlled. It's just in less than 3 minutes plus 2 minutes work now in the Loxone config. You can get a real amount of comfort in your home or in your hotel, wherever you need it, within less than 10 minutes to make it intelligent and reach a whole new level. Then, okay, the specifications you need and your special logics behind, okay, this is up to you, but it's possible in less than 10 minutes to integrate it. Next thing we have is the AC central controller, Lukas, and we now see here it's a similar visualization we might know from the HVAC controller, but it's new for this one.
Yeah, exactly. All climate central controllers now use the same visualization. I can see at first sight, okay, what are the demands of the different rooms? In my case, it's only one room, but if I would have a second room with heating demand, I would see here a bar, and the biggest bar gets the cooling or heating power.
Yeah.
If the outer temperature is in the correct range. So right now I'm above 18 degrees, so only cooling is available.
Okay.
So a very simple user interface, and you can see it and understand it with a.
Okay, there we have the new visualization. At this point, let's talk about shortly about the renamings of the function blocks. We had the AC control block before. We already told you that it's now called the AC unit controller. We have the new function block, the AC central controller. And our climate controller we already had has also a new name, the heating and cooling controller, to make it more clear what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And what's also new for the heating and cooling controller, so the old climate controller, is he also has gotten the new visualization. You can take a look at it in the app.
Okay.
So it's the same visualization, except that the function block has a threshold, so only if the demand gets above the threshold, heating or cooling gets activated.
Yeah, but you will also find the function blocks with the old names in your config, so you can't miss it, but might you get familiar with the new names so that you are not confused in the future if you see it there. The next point we have is the new or better system schematics, Lukas.
Yes, we improved the system schematic to have a little bit more features and a little bit better usability. So the first thing you're going to notice is a grid in the background. It helps me to position items so that they're all really neatly aligned.
And we see it is snapping so that we can align it more precise.
Yeah. What's also new, I can add text items where I can enter some text. An additional feature is to have fixed sizes, so I can have objects all of the same size, so that I really have a nice user interface.
Great.
And one of the best improvements we're going to see in the app, because you can now have actions or buttons in the app.
Oh, great.
So in this case, it's a switch function block, and I directly have here the switch and can turn it on.
And we see the icon is changing in this case.
For objects which are visualized with an icon, the icon will be displayed. And
great, so no need to jump into the function block directly. We have a switch here for the pump in this case, set up for demo purposes, and then we can just use it directly there in the system schematic overview. So more improvement for you and less clicks in the Loxone app for the user in this case. Great. Let's talk about the next function block, which is also new. It's the dew point calculator.
Yes, the dew point calculator uses the room temperature, the current temperature, and the relative humidity to calculate the dew point, which I then can use, for example, for my cooling minimum temperature.
Okay, and I can say, okay, in this case, the dew point is calculated. I can say, okay, give me a notification when it's reached, or whatever you want to personalize to your needs. After this, you can now do it with the new dew point calculator. Great feature. Let's jump to the next two new function blocks, the binary encoder and the value validator. Yeah. What are these two new function blocks doing, Lukas?
Yeah, we now have a binary encoder. Previously, we already had a decoder which decoded analog values to its binary bits, but now we also have a encoder function block which encodes bits to an analog value. You maybe would like to use it for a Modbus device which needs an analog value which contains several statuses. Okay. And now you can use the encoder function block.
Okay. And the value validator?
The value validator, the best use case is for me the measuring of the temperature in a pool.
Yeah.
So in a pool you measure most of the time the temperature inside the pipes. So the temperature is only valid if the pump is running. So it has to run for 60 seconds, for example, until you can actually trust the measured temperature.
Yeah.
And for this, you can use now the value validator. We have an enable input here, and in the settings you have a delay, so only if the enable input gets active for 20 seconds, the value on the input side is going to be outputted on the output side.
Okay.
Additionally, you can set a minimum and a maximum, and also a maximum minimum change interval. So if the value gets out of the range, it's not going to be set on the output, and you can trust the value you have on the output. And also the error output is going to be set. Or if the value does not change for an hour, you get an error on the output, and you can do something with it, like a notification.
Okay, great. The next thing we see on this page is the formula function block, because it also got two new improvements.
Yeah, the formula function block now supports minimum and maximum functions, so min and max. So you can evaluate the minimum of two values, or two expressions actually, so you can also write an expression in here, and the formula function block will then use the minimum value, or in this case the maximum, so in this case it's going to be value 3.
Okay, great. One short information at this point, it's not just a config and app release in this case, we also have a new update for the audio server as well, so greetings goes out to our audio team, which is located right in the next room on the other side. So maybe if you see live streams from us and it gets a little bit louder, this is why, because the audio team is doing tests in the next room. Also, a new audio server update with a lot of bug fixes is done. So yeah, this needs to be told at this point. And the last thing we have here in the config, beside all the bug fixes we also did, or you guys also did in the config, is an addition for the spot price optimizer. And this is something very important for the Great Britain market.
Yeah, exactly. So we now have, using the spot market as source, you can now select Great Britain 30 minutes. So Great Britain got a 30-minute interval. And if you select it, you can have in the app not only 24 intervals, but you see actually all 48 intervals. Okay. And you can use this spot price.
Now we point out this demand to get done. So greetings goes out to our team in the UK, which is, I think, watching at this moment. So this is for you guys and for all the customers which needs this. And we have two things additionally here.
Yeah. For all other, for everyone to use is the new parameter inputs. So you can have two parameters which you can use in the formula. For example, if you have a connection fee, which is variable, and you get it via an API, for example, you can just connect it and then use it in the formula.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lukas, for this moment. This was it from the config point of view. But we also have something interesting for you guys, demanding on the needs of a Loxone Wallbox or Wallbox in general. Our colleague Tobias Wöss is also getting prepared right now. Our product manager in the energy department. Tobias, nice to have you here. Hello.
Hello, Moritz.
And you brought us information about this one here, about the Wallbox. What improvements do we have here?
This lovely piece of hardware, you can see it here, the Wallbox with the NFC code touch integrated, and because we have it installed inside, we mounted them separately here also. Yeah. Our energy meter 3 in the 1 and 3 phase variant, which are really gaining traction and empowering the energy management solutions out there. And our Wallbox just got better with config and app version 15.1.
Yeah.
So the thing, people have Wallboxes installed outside. So consider you have a restaurant and you have a Loxone Wallbox outside. Previously, how could you manage to like allow any guest to charge outside your restaurant? You would have to like always enable them to charge free of charge. Or you would have to build them separately inside based on some logic. With Loxone Config 15.1, we introduced the support for OCPP as a beta.
Okay.
So what does OCPP mean? OCPP means Open Charge Point Protocol. Mm-hmm. Basically, that means using that protocol, our Wallbox block can communicate with the charge point network. So the major ones out there are HubChecked and ChargePoint. For at least in Europe. Yeah. And so say you have an electric vehicle, you get a charging card, maybe from Shell Recharge or any other vendor out there. You can now go to your Wallbox and hold this RFID charging card to the NFC code touch, and it will read it and transfer it back to the OCPP server from the ChargePoint network, which then decide, hey, yeah, that person is allowed to charge, and it will start charging, and you will be billed automatically because the mini-server then reports the charging session to that backend.
Without having an own mini-server user or something like that, and without having a special NFC, it's just the RFID and then the connection to the OCPP backend, in this case, that validates, okay, this user is allowed to charge because it has a card from us.
True, and that again proves that with the 85% focus on software at Loxone, we constantly improve our products, even if they're already out in the field.
Yeah, this is a great thing. And now we want to jump into the config, Tobias, and let's have a look here how this works now. So you have prepared something. In this case, it is German naming because we are live here at the Loxone campus config, and we are connected to our colleague Andreas, who is on the phone. And what have you prepared here?
So here we can see a Wallbox with an NFC Wallbox block with the meter and the Wallbox itself connected using an API connector. a separate NFC code touch block, also connected using the API connector. And those are already configured together to like do things like the Wallbox is managed by a Wallbox manager, which ensures that the fuses stay safe and echo power is distributed equally. And also authentication happens. Right now, it was only possible to authenticate if the mini server knew the user.
Yeah.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect that Wallbox to a charging point network. In our case, we connect it to the charge point network.
Yeah.
So we click here at network device and click at OCPP server connector. Important, it's a public beta. It's beta. So now we need to get the server address. It's usually always WebSocket connection. And this is the address you get from, you can choose whatever OCPP server you want. I mean, it's an open standardized protocol used around the globe. But here we just copy and paste it here.
And normally we get this from our distributor?
Backend provider, yeah. If you could connect to, for example, to the Hubcheck network using Loxone partner in Swiss, Encoder, or in Germany to the ChargePoint network using CityBlock.
Okay.
So, or you could directly integrate with ChargePoint.
Okay, but I get this server address from them.
And then you have charge points there. So for each Wallbox you create the charge point, and also there you get the information from your backend provider, or you configure it yourself there, depending on what backend you use. So we provide a charge point ID, which is always the thing that uniquely identifies the Wallbox.
Yeah.
And also for the sake of security, a password. So now we've got the charge point configured. Here we just we changed the name to, let's call it backend. Just leave it like this. And now we have, for this charge point that we just configured, we have an API connector. And just as you used to at Loxone, you can just simply drag it onto the Wallbox block and connect it there. And that's important, you also connect it to the NFC code touch.
But we get a message here.
And it's German, so let's translate it right quick. It says that OCPP is being used, hence the parameter AU authentication changes to OCPP.
Okay, so this is also something new, because until this day we had different authentication methods, just use NFC or code or both, and now a fourth one. Yeah,
because the NFC code touch needs to know when it reads an RFID charging card, that it needs to not compare it with the local permission management the mini server knows, but it needs to pass it on to the OCP backend and verify, hey, is this charging card allowed to charge?
Okay.
So that's why this is important.
And this is something which is done automatically. We got this message we have seen right now, and this tells us, okay, now we will change it to the parameter 4 in this case, for the AU parameter, and so nothing can go wrong in this case, because it's changed automatically and no need for us to have an eye on it in this case.
So now we're going to just save it in the configuration we've just changed to our mini server, meaning now we're at the campus to run a large installation. So it may take some time, but then we can use the app, and this is still connected to Lukas' previous mini server. So now we're connecting really here to the campus. Yeah. And as soon as the program has been
changed, okay, now we can see it. Yeah, there we have our Wallbox.
And now you can see this Wallbox is managed by a Wallbox manager. Yeah. So we can instantly jump to that. So we can see, okay, hey, this end by a backend. We call this backend. It would be maybe ChargePoint, Hubcheck, or whatever you name the plugin. Yeah. So that says, okay, it's connected. And now we're gonna ask our colleague downstairs, Andreas, to connect the vehicle. And it's connected. And then, Andreas, connect with the charging card you have. So he's now going to use a charging card.
Yeah, right in front of the NFC.
Yeah, and this is not a known charging card or from mini server. It doesn't know it. It's known to the backend. And here we can see instantly it says approval backend. Yeah. This means, okay, the NFC code touch did read the ID, passed it on to the backend. The backend said, okay, this is a person that is allowed to charge, and it started the charging process. And here you can see we no longer show any prices. Yeah. Why is that? Because we connected this Wallbox to the backend, because we don't want to do billing on our own.
Okay.
It should be charged using the backend.
Yeah.
So in this situation, we just hide the prices, and as you can see, charging starts,
Yeah.
and all is well.
And it doesn't matter which logic we have for the known mini server users, for the employees or someone else who has his own prices we define via the mini server. This is just done by the backend and the RFID authentication that it knows, okay, this user has this price in his contract or something like that. And then we hide it here in the app because in this case it doesn't matter. It's unknown for us because it's just totally done by them.
And so we no longer have to worry about it, and anyone can use our Wallbox to charge his car, and he's being billed based on his contract, and you're good to go. Again, the power, the simplicity of
and one important thing is we also see it in the history. We can also see then in the history in the Loxone app on the function block, the history, you know it. We can see, okay, which change was done, who was charging, and when was the charging, and then we can see, okay.
And also who approved it.
Yeah.
Because it's always important to know who allowed the person to charge outside the charging station. So it's all there.
Okay, great thing, great improvement. So this is the beta version of it. Use it. Tell us your experiences with it. We're happy to know it. If you have questions to the config 15.1, just place it as a comment under the video. So we say thank you for your attention. If you like the video, just give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to read after what we have talked about, just go to loxone.com. You will find a blog article where you can see all the changes done, the whole changelog of the new config 15.1, as well as the new audio server update and bug fixes. Thanks for your attention and see you next time.